Early one morning, John was driving his car in the forest near his cabin. Suddenly, he stopped after seeing a wolf trapped in a trap. He parked the car and approached slowly, watching the stranded wolf. Watch the video to know the details. Let's watch the video, but before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a motivating comment, so we can continue for more as a virtue, not a command. In the forest, John found a wolf with its leg stuck in a trap, trying to free itself. After numerous failed attempts, it seemed to give up and lay down to rest. The wolf looked exhausted, as if it had lost hope. John was shocked and wanted to help the animal. However, as he approached, he felt fear and attempted to loosen the chains. John hesitated, not wanting to risk harming himself. But then he noticed something unexpected. It was clear that the wolf was female, but that alone wasn't the surprise. Her nipples were full of milk, indicating that there must be cubs somewhere, waiting for their mother impatiently. This, if they were still alive, as wolf pups couldn't survive long without their mothers. If John wanted to reunite the young ones with their mother, he had to act quickly. He couldn't approach the wolfess for fear of her injuring him, as wild animals' behavior in such situations was unpredictable. The wolfess seemed in a miserable state, appearing to have lost much blood due to her injured leg. John realized that leaving her alone meant certain death for her. John didn't want to leave the wolfess alone to struggle with slow death. He wanted to do something to save her. After everything he had been through in his life, he had become the type who never gave up. He wasn't willing to abandon this dying wolfess. He knew that every second wasted meant that either the wolfess or one of her pups wouldn't survive. He had to act wisely and skillfully. John didn't know how to release the wolfess's leg from the trap, but he gathered all his courage and attempted several times until he managed to grab the wolfess's head with one hand and press the release button with the other. However, it didn't open, tightly locked from her desperate attempts to escape. This likely happened when the wolfess attempted to run away. John didn't have time to think, he asked for help from his friend, who quickly opened the trap. Then, with all his strength, John carried the wolfess on his shoulders and placed her in the car's trunk, returning to his cabin. He placed the wolfess next to the fireplace due to the low temperature. Once the house warmed up, he examined the wolfess's injuries, cleaned and treated them. He knew exactly what to do thanks to his previous medical training. The wolfess's leg had wounds, fortunately no fractures. But if John hadn't been there at the right time, she would have surely lost her leg. She had fractures, but if it hadn't been for John being there at the right time, she would have definitely lost her leg. After receiving the necessary care, signs of life gradually began to show on her, and John knew she would be fine. He decided to take her out to the porch after taking care of the mother wolf and seeing her condition improve. He went looking for the cubs, but where could John possibly find a den of wolf cubs? The cubs couldn't be too far away as wolves don't stray far from their young. Given his military background, he had experience in survival and tracking, and he would need to use all his skills to rescue the cubs. He searched the area for clues and finally found what he was looking for. It was hidden, but there was an opening to a hole in the ground, and luckily, this was the den he was looking for. The only problem now was how to get the wolf cubs out, as they had been trained to stay inside until they heard their mother's voice, even if it would lead to their death. John was determined to get them out. He tried all ways to imitate the sound of wolves, but without success. He was considering going to the den when suddenly a young wolf emerged howling from hunger. Perhaps this was one of the main reasons he was ready to risk coming out without hearing his mother's voice. After the first cub came out, the others soon followed. As he was unable to carry all 4 cubs at once, he carefully placed them all in a bag. Although putting your head in a wolf's den is not a good idea, John had to make sure if there were any other young ones in the den, as he thought he might have left one behind. It was an unacceptable idea, so he had to be sure. He lay on his stomach and crawled inside, and luckily, it wasn't as deep as he imagined. John searched thoroughly but didn't find any other cubs, and thus he was able to leave with a clear conscience, knowing he hadn't left any cubs behind. John carried the bag containing the puppies back to their mother, who had awoken to the sound of her little ones whining. He placed the puppies down and let them approach their mother one by one, hoping that his scent on the puppies wouldn't lead to their rejection. The puppies recognized their mother and all huddled towards her. She began sniffing and playfully nudging them, which left John holding his breath, wondering if she would recognize them after her ordeal. What had been a dangerous adventure turned into a tender moment as she started licking the puppies and lay down to let them nurse. The wolf was hungry and thirsty, desperately in need of food to replenish herself and then to feed her young. Therefore, John brought her pieces of meat to eat. Despite her initial distrust, she gratefully accepted the food he offered, as she had no other choice but to adapt to her new surroundings. John had to venture out daily to bring fish or meat for the wolves and gather wood, leaving his house door open so the puppies could enter to warm themselves. However, he never expected that one day, upon returning home, he would be shocked to find his garden teeming with a whole pack of wolves who had come to check on the she-wolf. It was clear her family had been searching for her and her puppies. In that moment, John froze in fear, unprepared to face these wolves in his garden. The cubs quickly rushed towards him, ecstatic to see their friend. But the adult wolves all turned, raising their heads, and began to howl. It was clear they were ready to attack. Suddenly, one of the wolves let out a loud bark. It was the sound of the she-wolf whom John had helped and saved from certain death. As soon as she barked, all the other wolves backed off. However, John didn't underestimate the danger of the wolf pack. He quickly entered his cabin and closed the door behind him. After a few days, the she-wolf's condition improved, and soon she was able to stand and move around again. And a few days later, she barked at her cubs, and they all got up and followed her. John understood that they would leave, and he never saw the pack, the she-wolf, or the cubs again. But he knew that the she-wolf and her cubs were indebted to him for their lives. Here, my friends, what would you do if you faced the same situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to receive our videos first. See you in the next video. Compassion for animals and providing assistance to them in difficult times reflects deep human values and care for every living creature on this planet. It's not just a matter of environmental responsibility, but rather a human connection that the world greatly lacks in this fast-paced era. When we talk about compassion for animals, we're talking about our ability to empathize and interact with other creatures that share this world with us. In many cases, animals can find themselves in precarious situations between life and death, whether due to injury, accidents, or even human intervention. In these moments, humans demonstrate their ability to provide assistance and necessary care. Whether through rescuing injured animals and providing them with medical care, or by providing shelter and care for abandoned animals, these actions are a source of pride for humanity. Therefore, let's embody compassion and empathy towards animals, and remember that we have the ability and responsibility to preserve their safety and well-being in this shared world we live in.